I call to order the November 10th Latrobe City Council meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I ask for a moment of silence, to ask for guidance, to give thanks, or to just quietly relax. I'd also ask that during this moment of silence, you remember our veterans this Veterans Day. Thank you. Roll call, Ms. Buck.
Mr. Giovanangelo?
Here.
Mrs. Smith? Here. Mrs. Caldwell-Craven?
Here.
Mr. Sikora?
Here.
Mr. Baldinari?
Here.
Ms. Beasy? Mayor Wolford?
Here.
6 present.
This time I ask for approval of minutes for the October 13th and the October 27th, 2014 meetings. May I have a motion, please?
I move that the minutes of the October 13th and the October 27th, 2014 meetings be approved and accepted and be permitted to remain on the Secretary's desk. They will be available for reading and inspection to anyone.
May I have a second, please?
I second that motion.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the fiscal department reports and paid bills for the month of October 2014?
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion?
I have a question. Ms. Buck, any of the bills outside of the budget as it was presented?
No, there's nothing that was paid for that month that was outside of the budget. We did do the $50,000 transfer from general fund into capital, and we paid the MMO, which is why the amount's so much on here for this month.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. At this time, we will have our citizens' request. Please come to the microphone, state your name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 to 5 minutes, and for items pertaining to agenda items at this time, please. There are no comments on the agenda items. We will move on. Committee reports. Finance Committee.
I've reviewed Wayne's budget. A few copies of it, has some questions answered. I know I've spoken with Madeline about it, and I believe he has a budget to present tonight, but we have been working with him to with giving him some direction and help with getting this budget prepared. He's done most of the legwork on it, but we found some things back and forth between he and I'm sure Madeline might have some comments too.
Well, I talked to Wayne yesterday on some comments that I had and some things that I had asked him about, but he said it didn't really reflect on the budget and passing of the budget, that it could be worked out through the year. It was just on some minor issues that didn't entail a lot of, things that were like a high priced item or anything. Okay?
So are you two comfortable with the budget as it's been presented?
As I saw, I'm
Presented?
going over it right now, but, you know, Wayne said there's no changes to it except the questions that we have.
Right, the only changes that are on the budget is what I sent back to you after you and Madeline that sent me some suggestions, a couple things you caught that I made, some keying errors, you know, some things that, you know, were done, but no, you have the budget, the budget you have in front of you is what you saw. I don't make changes without council's approval.
Is this something we'll approve in December? Is
Yeah,
that
you
your
put it on in
intent?
December.
Okay.
Yeah. And when you get in December, it'll have the heading pages.
Yeah, so we still have another month to look it over and,
And I'm ready for suggestions. I mean, and this is a budget, obviously this is my first year, you know, Barb and Joe and Jim, all have been helpful. But if there's something that you have a question about, certainly.
Our only requirement is that we advertise for 10 days, so that can be done after the agenda session, somewhere in that time frame between then and the meeting in December.
And we might have a final go-around at the agenda session to hash out any other questions someone might have, but as far as I'm concerned, I think it's a good budget. If you're asking me that question, yes.
yes, that's my question. Thank you. Madeline, you too?
I do agree.
Great, okay. Public Safety Committee, Jerry, got anything at this time?
Neighborhood Watch meeting, 6:30 this Friday. Still looking for more people. We elected officers the last meeting. Bring your friends, come join up.
Personnel, Tricia and Mike?
There was some interviews here. Unfortunately, I couldn't participate in any of them, but there were some interviews for mechanic position.
Yeah, Joe and I sat through, we interviewed 2 individuals. The candidate pool for the requirements, those were the 2 that really fit the requirements well, both experience and CDL driver. And I think that, you know, we're in the process of going to make a recommendation here. Probably, unless the committee, well, we can talk about it. We have a candidate we think we want to check their references and their background, and then we can present that to council.
You do background checks?
Yeah, we're doing a background check, and we're going to call, of course, they call the references.
Right.
And then there's also going to be a physical and drug test. So
Okay.
the offer would be conditional upon passing all those. Now, I will tell you that both the 2 individuals lived within 1,000 yards of Latrobe. They do not live in Latrobe. But they can throw a rock to Latrobe, just so you know.
Okay. Thanks.
And as far as, we are working on a negotiation for the ASME contract, and we'll meeting scheduled Thursday this week for another session, so.
Yeah, Thursday at 3 p.m.
Is that still on? He never
Yeah.
answered you?
They never answered my email.
I hope he comes now. I mean,
We'll be here.
okay, Public Works Committee? Anything?
I spoke with Joe briefly on a few things, but I did forget to ask you, Joe, how is the truck coming along?
The new truck?
Yes, the new truck.
I expect that we'll probably have it back in service, or in service probably within about 2 weeks. We weren't happy with the way the back end was, the hoist system. The company agreed to take it back. They're making it now. It's almost done. We'll send the truck down to Ohio to have it installed, and it'll be in service.
Okay.
Tricia or Fabian, anything on community development at this time?
No.
Okay. Next item on here is Board and Authority reports. I'll update the ones that I know. Latrobe Municipal Authority, we're still, you know, trying to work with the entities on a 537 plan. And on the Park and Rec Commission, I sit on that board. We are in the process of trying to figure out what our budget's going to be next year when Unity Township pulls out of the commission. So more to come on those of next year. I have nothing on any of the other ones. So Parking Authority. Wayne, do you have anything on the Parking Authority?
I don't think they've met.
Okay. What do you guys think about, just a thought, but what do you guys think about us maybe putting together like a committee to look at parking?
It's probably a good idea.
We can talk about it at the agenda prep session, but think about it between now and then, because I've been told by a lot of people that there's a lot of confusion with where can you park and where can't you park, and different, it's kind of become a convoluted system. Barb has told me that too.
And
So-
is that directed by the parking authority or city council input?
I believe the parking authority has that authority, pardon for that, but. From council. Yeah, it was given, obviously given from council, but I believe they set the parking.
I'm not talking about so much the rates, but even on the street, like where you can park, what's a 2-hour meter, what's a 9-hour meter, where you can park with a permit, where you can't park with a permit, all that stuff.
A little bit I work with them, they seem like they're willing to work.
Okay.
I thought they just did the lots.
They just have the lots, we have the street.
Okay, I'm that, maybe right, I'm not sure.
We have the street, I know that. They have the lots, we have the street. Okay, department reports. Joe?
Yes, a couple quick things. First of all, we had another e-waste collection. It was a big success. Wasn't quite as much as the first time around, but it was still quite a success. And a special thank you to our community service officer. She had a couple of juveniles that needed some community service, a few hours, and they were a very, very big help. They really worked hard and helped make it a success. By the end of this week, Jim isn't here tonight, by the end of this week, you should see a car around that's the SRO car. It'll be identical to the ones downstairs. It's a 2014 Charger that was purchased. The decals are being put on it on Wednesday, and just a couple of fine little tweaking things on it, and it should be in service by Friday for the school SRO.
Where where did the money come from for that car? I know the answer to this, but
I would like to address that to Barb and Wayne.
Okay. I know that. I mean, I'd like to get that. That didn't come from our budget.
No, the school grant that they received, they paid the $24,000 something. 22,000 for the grant. They're also going to pay $4,000, $4,500 toward the decals and the lights and the rest of the police equipment.
I just thought it was important that everyone knows that money came from the school and not from the taxpayers and not from our budget, because it was not a budgeted item. Sergeant Colombo, do you want to say anything on behalf of the police department? No? Okay. We're on to the agenda. I don't think Ann's here. No. I don't think Priscilla's here anywhere, is he?
You know, we still, for zoning, we still need an alternate position for the zoning hearing board.
We're going to talk about that at the end, about advertising for positions. Go ahead, Jim.
Madam Mayor, members of council, due to my voice, I will be brief tonight, and I will be reading by caption the resolutions in the motion. The first item appears under the Administration and Finance Department. It is a simple motion, and it reads, I move we hire Gibson Thomas Engineering Company, Inc. to assist the city with obtaining documents from various contractors and subcontractors for the Latrobe Parking Garage project related to the ARCAP grant.
Do I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
This is just a motion, right, Jim?
Correct.
Okay, any questions or discussion?
I have a question. Did we get any type of budgetary amount from them on what this might cost, this might run?
Not yet. We're waiting to actually have the auditor that's been reviewing it send us information, and then at that point they'll better handle what's going to cost. But I believe part of that can come on the capital fund.
Thank you.
Wayne, do we know if it's going to be built this year or next year?
Yeah, I don't think they'll have a whole lot of time to look at it. I don't know. Maybe we'll get a little bit of drilling this year and the balance next year. I'm not sure exactly what's going to cost yet.
So if it would be next year, is that something we can include in the budget for next year?
You can. Like I said, there's money in, there's extra money in the capital budget that will cover that. There's a contingent within that.
For those of you, this has to do with finishing the final paperwork that the state requires to get the $1 million RCAP grant for the parking garage. We still need some documentation from the contractors, and we need the assistance of Gibson Thomas to get those. Any other questions or discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
The next item also appears under Administration Finance Department. It's a very short resolution. It's entitled Adopting GASB 34 Capitalization Policy. And in a nutshell, the Government Accounting Standards Board, known as GASB, has established some policies and procedures for recording of municipal assets for depreciation and useful life schedules. And it's the intent of this resolution to adopt that policy as attached for the city of Latrobe. The motion would be to adopt the resolution as outlined by the solicitor.
May I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Questions or discussions? I have one. Have we not used GASB before?
This actually is a policy that should have been adopted a while ago. GASB's been out this 34's been out for a while. It just defines that what is going to be capitalized, what's not going to be capitalized. So you're not capitalizing items that are inexpensive and shouldn't be added to it. We shouldn't be insuring them, we shouldn't be capitalizing them.
I think, Madam Mayor, you're correct in what you said. This is probably more of an amendment to the policy that we've been required to follow for a number of years now.
Any other questions? Ms. Buck?
This is resolution 2014-59. Mr. Spore,
Yes.
Mr. Giovanangelo,
Yes.
Mrs. Caldwell-Cravener,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Baldneri,
Yes.
Mayor Wolford.
Yes.
Vote is 6 yes.
The next item appears under Planning and Development Department. It is also a resolution. It's entitled Authorization for the City Manager as Designated to remove a nuisance located at 827 Walnut Street to take appropriate action for recovery of cost of removal and or to file an appropriate lien. And what this resolution pertains to is a garage located at 827 Walnut Street. The roof shingles are all off. It's down to exposed wood, and some of the wood is starting to come off with the wind getting into the inside of the garage. Our code officer has tried numerous times to get in touch with the property owner to no avail. We will send her a copy of this resolution before anything occurs in terms of demolishing the garage. I do know that she's gotten 2 estimates, and I believe they're both around $1,500 from 2 separate contractors. We have, I think she said, about $400 to $500 in the account. So part of that would not necessarily be budgeted. We'll send the bill to the property owner. If it's not paid, then we'll file a lien against the property.
May I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
And may I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any questions or discussion?
Mr. Kelly, part of this resolution is to try to recover our costs involved with this demolition, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion?
We've had a homeowner here about 2 months ago, having problems with a house that was really bad shape and stuff like that. And he wanted to do the same thing. We kind of told him no. We can up on Long
Kirktree Street,
The Kirktree?
the rat infested house.
Yes.
You can see through the walls.
I'm not going to speak for sure, but I believe the one house land bank's looking at to work on. So, and there is some resolution coming to it. It's just we're not planning to take it down.
Any other questions? Ms. Buck?
This is resolution 2014-60. Mr. Giovanangelo,
Yes.
Mr. Baldneri,
Yes.
Mr. Scapora,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Caldwell-Craigner.
Yes.
Mayor Wolford.
Yes.
So 6 yes.
Do we have any unfinished business that we want to discuss? Anyone?
I want to follow up with Fabian's question and ask, what was the resolution or what did we start to do about that gentleman's?
I thought it was, there was a couple. I thought there was Chestnut Street or Walnut Street.
Three families.
It was on Gertrude Street. It was about 2 months, 3 months ago.
That's not the one I'm thinking of. It was Fairmont or Walnut, near where Julie lives. Julie knew. Excuse me, exactly, it was.
Houses up from Joe, I think.
Land bank's gonna want
Right, Jack?
Fairmont, but the other issue was he had some equipment or some vehicles are out in the yard. I know Ann's site is not that, but.
Yeah, that wasn't it. There was, we'll have to go back in the minutes and see exactly, because there were a couple different ones. I know there was one that you could almost see through the house. That one,
That's the one behind the guy on Fairmont Street.
right,
This is on Walnut Street.
right. There was a,
The one across the street from him is the one that used to be beside you. It's abandoned.
I think it was 614 Fairmont,
One's abandoned.
Walnut.
No. That's on the 400 block.
Well, if Ann was here, she'd know exactly what we were talking about,
On the
so.
other side, even
Do you know Joe?
The house in the 400 block of Walnut Street, that was the one that people could see, you know, it was, someone had said you could see through it. There has been work going on that house. There's been some guys up on the roof and doing some fascia now type of work. So that's the one on Walnut Street. Vehicles are still in the yard, but there has been some work and activity.
We'll have to follow up with Ann on those. Any other unfinished business? New business, we need to authorize to advertise for applicants for all boards and authorities and commissions that expire December, January, all in January? Okay, January 31st. We would ask that if you had applied in the past to please reapply. We had decided to hold off on the municipal authority since that appointment would have been only a 2 or 3 month appointment. We would have had to appoint again, so. Barb, can you tell us what's available?
There's a 5-year term on the Latrobe Municipal Authority. That was the vacancy. The zoning hearing board, there's one 5-year term to replace Simkovich, but a letter was mailed out to her. And Ann also told me that Wayne Douglas, I guess, had moved to Texas, but she didn't get a letter from him yet to reapply.
And he's on the zoning hearing board also?
I think Planning Commission.
Planning Commission.
Yeah, one of those two. And like Jim Miller said, there's still that alternate that we've never been able to get somebody to apply for that.
On the zoning hearing board.
On the zoning hearing board. Right.
And the zoning hearing board does not meet that often, do they? Because they only meet if they have something to review, correct?
Right.
That's correct, but I'll tell you what, that position is critical, and I'll tell you why. In case somebody can't make it and we don't have a quorum, and somebody applied for a variance or something, let's say that somebody would apply to start a auto repair shop in a residential neighborhood. Unless the zoning hearing board votes on that within a certain period of time, it's automatically granted.
Okay.
And that's a big item for citizens.
Well, I encourage, please, I'll ask my newspaper reporters here too to please encourage our residents to apply. These boards and authorities are very important. They don't take an awful lot of time, but they are very, very important to the successful running of the city. So I'd ask people to please consider applying for them.
I think we only had 3 meetings, hearing board meetings this year.
Right.
It's critical, but it's not.
It's not constant. Yeah, right.
How many people are currently on the board, Mr. Miller, that you're aware of? I mean, to come to meetings.
I believe there's 5, but unless you have the quorum, you know.
My question is, what has happened in, I'll say, the recent past? Has there been a lack of a quorum at meetings, or?
No, we haven't had a lack because Ann has called, you know, the people up and actually had to beg them sometimes
Again, there were only, as Jim said, there were 3 in this year, 3 zoning hearing board meetings this year, so it's not a huge time commitment, but it's very, very important, so, as they all are.
I come home from vacation to attend one.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. We appreciate that.
Wayne Douglas is on planning, so that's 2
And-
4-year terms for the planning. that are-
Okay, we have 2 4-year positions for planning, and planning meets usually monthly. Ron, did they meet monthly, or did they just meet whenever they had something to review? So it wasn't every month either.
Right.
They're pretty,
Active?
yeah, pretty active.
Okay,
They haven't been recently.
okay.
And the Civil Service Commission has 1 6-year term that's up. And there's also still the one to fill the vacancy that expires January 31st of 16. The IDA has 1 5-year term and 1 term that expired back in 14, and before that, 9. Mr. Dominic continues to serve on that authority, even though he's on a different one now on the LMA, until we can get somebody. So right now, we're looking at 2, unless.
So totally, how many people do we need to fill out all our boards and authorities?
Well, and then the council liaison for the Park and Rec, if that's you, so I don't know if you change that or if you'd stay with it. If not, then we're looking at 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 vacancies.
Okay. We have 9 opportunities for people to get involved, so please get involved. Okay, at this time we have the citizens.
Madam Mayor,
Oops, excuse
we
me.
have a motion to authorize our secretary to.
Oh, I'm sorry. May we have a motion to authorize the secretary to advertise for those positions?
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Questions or discussions? I got ahead of myself, but questions or discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. At this time, we have our open forum of citizens' requests. If there's anything on your mind you'd like to get up to the microphone, please do so. State your name and address.
James Miller, 127 East 4th Avenue, in Latrobe. I have 3 items. One is regarding the budget. Do we anticipate a tax increase for this year?
No.
Thank you.
Stop there, Jim.
Meeting adjourned.
Also, I have a question about the lawsuits that we have pending. I understand we have a 3rd lawsuit now, and it's my understanding that the city is going to be liable for all lawyer costs on both sides? No?
No, they wouldn't be liable for that.
Where do we stand on the lawsuits?
I can't comment.
Because it is pending litigation, Mr. Miller, I'm reluctant to offer comment other than to say that special counsel from Pittsburgh has been appointed by our insurance carrier that is defending all 3 of the lawsuits.
Have we authorized or voted has City Council voted to authorize the payment for attorneys? I would assume we would have to vote on that, wouldn't we?
The carrier assigns the council to us, so we have no choice as to the payment amount. We do have a deductible on our policy, which is $10,000. That deductible may have to be applied to the legal fee. That I can't say for sure at the moment. But beyond that deductible, then we are not liable for the monetary amounts that are covered by insurance.
But do we have to vote on that? Does council have to vote on the...
Mr. Noe, the way it was explained to me is it's the insurance company's decision whether or not, Jim, isn't that how you explained it to me? The insurance company determines whether or not they're going to represent people, whether or not the case...
Right. We submitted all 3 lawsuits to 2 different carriers. The liability carrier denied coverage, and that's if you are in your automobile working for the city and I run into your lawn and damage your lawn, that's what that policy covers. We have a second policy that covers decisions made by council or individual members of council. That policy, at the moment, has extended coverage to the city and to named individuals who were sued. But as I said a moment ago, that the company assigns legal counsel. Okay, we have no choice.
We have no choice, but I would assume that we have to vote to approve the money to pay these, don't we?
The payment will come
Over and
directly.
above
No, we do not vote to approve that payment. It comes out of our deductible.
Okay. The third item is the arsons in the city of Latrobe. I understand that we have 6 arsons that are now under investigation, and some of them have already been sent to the to Greensburg to the prosecutor, and they've been sitting up there and they're not doing anything on them. I think maybe somebody should contact Mr. Peck and have him see what can be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Jim Bolton, 225 Irving Avenue. Mr. Miller has asked some of the questions that I was thinking about asking also. One thing I'd like to say is near the year's up, that I was a little bit disappointed in the new council. When you took office, why you didn't reopen the budget? You're still going down that windy road that the previous councils were on. And the farther down that road you get, it's going to be a lot harder to turn around. I spent the weekend when I had some time going over the budget and the expenditures for this year and proposed for next year. The city was in trouble 4 years ago. Fortunately for the city, unfortunately for homeowners, we had a hailstorm. That the transfer station made a substantial profit. You got you out of deficit budgets for the next year. Last year you set aside $150,000 to balance your budget. You've increased this year's budget a couple bucks, not that much. And I think you set aside $50,000 from the general fund to balance the budget. I don't know how you've done it, in the fact taxes have been decreasing. But as I told you last week, good luck. I seen in the budget also a figure, I think $28,000 for a new police car. Am I correct? Is this another one besides the security guard's car?
Yes, it is. The SRO car was paid for by the school district.
Who's going to maintain that car? The city? Who's going to put gas in it?
Sure, it's
Tires. Naturally, the city will, taxpayers of the city are going to maintain it.
Sure.
And you're going to get another police car, your budget for another police car. Keep on going. One thing about the councils here, you're getting extremely good. Besides all the police cars and the pickup trucks and everything you're buying, you should have a pretty nice used car lot sitting out here. Why we need all this, I don't know. But anyway, you're going down a rocky road. You have that parking garage, which I consider a farce. Chicken littles running around proclaiming the sky is falling. And you close the garage, spend what, over $2.5 million, or more than that, for a piece of decorative concrete. I'm not an engineer, just a little bit of common sense in looking at things. That leaves this council and future council with a dead albatross around your neck every year, $280,000 payment. Truly unfortunate. You have to watch your money. I don't know if you've ever looked it up, but if you add up those $280,000 debt payments, you're sitting over $6 million in debt. You just bought another truck. If you hadn't spent that profit from your transfer station, you could have paid cash for that new roll-off truck instead of financing it and spending an additional $6,000 in interest. Just looking at your budget, I know some people won't agree with it. I could cut $100,000 from that budget tomorrow, and you'd never even know it was missing. I walk my dog 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and when I get up in front of Frederick's Funeral Home in the evening, I look up and down Ligonier Street and Irving Avenue. I don't see a car. Yet as I'm walking, I could read a newspaper with the street lights. $150,000 to light this city. That's a lot of lighting. It's a lot of money. You could cut 50,000, nobody'd miss it. I don't know if you ever go out in the evening, but there's nobody on your streets. That's out of the question anymore. You have to start cutting. And we've been getting fat for too many years. Now we have to get a little bit leaner. But I hope you start looking at that budget, try and make some cuts. It'd be nice if you could even make a tax decrease, cut taxes on the property owners around here. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Scott Lowther, 212 Walnut Street. I'm wondering if anything can be done about the excessive traffic and speeding in the alley due to St. Vincent de Paul. Everybody comes out of St. Vincent de Paul and shoots up that alley because you can't make a left turn. And people come down the alley to go in it too. It's unsafe to walk up. You can't park in there. It's very bad.
We'll have the chief look into it. Where is it again?
The alley coming right out of St.
Vincent de Paul.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's right by the podiatrist office.
Right. Oh yeah, that one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Wayne, city manager's report.
All right, some of the stuff you've already heard, we are hiring, we've narrowed it down with offer for the mechanic, and we'll give you information on that. There is a union meeting at 3 p.m. on the 13th, next union meeting. The sign out front will be up by, probably right after Thanksgiving, so they already put the full off here. That is that. Some things that we're going to look at, I looked at the police pension, and I don't know if the board has a pension committee or something because
We don't, but we probably should.
well, some of the
That's right.
because I looked at the, you may want to look at the breakdown between fixed assets and equity, and the income that you're drawing perhaps maybe isn't maximum utilization down the road. So the world's changed, and it changes every year. So.
We had some advisors come in and talk to us over a year ago about the pension and the setup, as you said, about how much in fixed assets and how much in.
Yeah, I looked at the fixed assets are doing pretty good, but the mutual funds are underperforming, and your equity, you have a small amount of equity, which limits your risk, but you may want to look at that portfolio and see, if it's worth reevaluating. But I can certainly talk to the bank and set up a meeting and discuss it as a council.
I think that's what you should probably do, have the bank come in and talk to us on one of our agenda meetings.
Okay, I can do it. As I said, I looked at it, it looks like just from what I can see there, there may be an opportunity to tweak it. And lastly, I can bring us up to the agenda meeting, but we're looking at the tower over at St. Mary Cemetery. We're ensuring that it serves no value to anybody. I was going to see about getting some prices to see about taking it down. Because all we're doing is insuring something that has no value.
What the?
It's a radio antenna.
Oh, that?
It's an old technology tower that
Okay.
the police can't use, the fire company can't use, nobody uses, but yet we're insuring. Well, something we had trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just as a heads up on that, I'm
Okay.
going to see about, there may be some value in the steel.
As far as my mayor's report is going, I would like to say that the city is in good financial shape. Mr. and I think that we have been responsible about how we spent money and how we've budgeted things. We have had cutbacks over the years. We've reduced Joe Bush's department in the past. We've reduced in the city offices by not replacing people that have retired. There are some things that we just have to replace, and that one of them is police cars. You know, they have a shelf life just like our own personal cars do. I personally am a strong believer in trying to keep improving things, and improving things cost money. We put money into our homes so that they don't deteriorate, and we need to put money into our community so that it doesn't deteriorate. But we have to do that strategically and with a lot of thought. You know, I know there are a lot of people around and out in the public that get frustrated with grant money and the fact that we put a certain amount of dollars into these things, but we put, I think our commitment to the Lincoln Avenue corridor was $10,000, and we're going to get $500,000 worth of grant money from other from DCED as well as other organizations, and that is going to be a beautiful area there, and all that kind of anything like that improves home values. You know, I look at it as we have a choice. We can just sit back and do nothing and just cut and just watch things deteriorate, or we can try to fix them. And granted, it's not, you know, it's not going to be easy, and we have to be fiscally responsible and strategic in how we spend our money. And I think this council is very serious about doing that. So the only other comment that I would make is that tomorrow is Veterans Day. The Veterans Day parade is at 10 o'clock. And then there will be a ceremony down at the memorial. And I encourage all of you that are available to please attend and pay respect and tribute to all of our veterans, those both living and that have died in service of our country. So God bless America. And if anyone else has anything, otherwise I will call the meeting adjourned.